Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea from Denzel Washington, one that completely flips our fear of failure on its head. It's this simple but kind of life-changing concept he calls falling forward. And honestly, it might just change the way you think about every single risk you take from here on out.
And this is it. This is the challenge he throws down right from the get-go. And he's not talking about playing it safe, taking these little calculated chances. His whole point is that anything truly worth having in your life is waiting for you on the other side of a real risk.
Okay, so if risk is a must, then how are you supposed to deal with it when you stumble? Because you will. And this is where Denzel brings in his first big idea. And trust me, it goes against everything we're usually taught.
Right? I mean, you've heard this a million times from your parents, your teachers, your friends, and they mean well. They're just trying to look out for you. Have a plan B. Get that safety net ready. It's supposed to be the smart thing to do. But Denzel, he says, maybe not. And this is where it gets really interesting. He actually questions the whole idea of having something to fall back on. His logic is so simple, but it's brilliant. If you're gonna fall, and you are, why would you want to fall backward? Away from your goal? He says, no, I want to fall forward. That way at least you can see what you're about to hit.
So falling forward basically means every single mess up, every failure becomes useful. It's data. Every mistake is just a lesson in disguise. So the goal isn't to avoid falling. It's to make sure that when you do fall and you get back up, you've actually landed a few feet closer to where you wanted to go.
But, to even get the chance to fall forward, you first have to be willing to fall at all. And that takes a special kind of courage, what Denzel calls having the guts to fail.
And just listen to the way he says that. He's not saying failure might happen. He's promising you it will happen. You are going to lose. You're going to embarrass yourself. You are going to suck at something. And instead of living in fear of that, his advice is just to accept it, to embrace it, because it's coming one way or another. Now take a look at this number, 2,600. What do you think that is? It's not a measure of success. It's actually a measure of failure on a pretty epic scale. This is how many times the baseball legend Reggie Jackson struck out in his career.
Yeah, the most in the history of the sport. But do we ever talk about that? No. We talk about Mr. October. We talk about his incredible home runs. And why is that? Because his successes were so huge, so monumental, that they completely dwarfed all those failures. He was constantly falling forward.
Okay, how about this one? 1,000. That's the number of times Thomas Edison's team supposedly failed while they were trying to invent a practical light bulb. 1,000 failures. But see, here's the thing. Edison himself never saw it that way. He didn't see 1,000 failures. He famously said he just found 1,000 steps. Each one of those failed experiments taught him what not to do, which pushed him one step closer to what would work. He was literally falling forward with every single try. Now, stories about guys like Edison and Reggie Jackson are great, but Denzel himself is probably the best proof of this whole philosophy. And he tells this incredible story he calls his 30-year audition.
So picture it. Early in his career, he goes into an audition for a Broadway musical. He felt like the part was made for him, but there was one tiny problem. He couldn't sing at all. He didn't get the part. It was a flat-out, unambiguous failure. He could have fallen back, right? He could have just given up on that dream.
But he didn't. He kept working. He kept pushing. And then, 30 years later, he's starring in the massively successful play Fences on Broadway. And here's the part that'll give you goosebumps. The play was at the exact same theater where he had bombed that audition 30 decades earlier. He didn't just succeed. He came full circle and conquered the very place where he first failed. And his story just proves this point so perfectly, that failure wasn't the end of the road. It was proof that he was in the ring, that he was trying. It completely reframes risk, doesn't it? It's not something to avoid. It's a sign that you're actually pushing yourself to your limits. So, we've talked about careers, about achieving goals, but Denzel takes this whole idea one step further, connecting it to something way bigger, to our purpose and to the legacy we leave behind. He paints this really powerful, kind of haunting picture. He asks us to imagine that final moment of our lives, but instead of being surrounded by family, you're surrounded by the ghosts of what could have been. And who are these ghosts? Well, they're every risk you didn't take.
They're the idea for that business you never started, the talent for music you never pursued, the person you could have become if you hadn't played it so safe. And they're angry. They're disappointed because you were the only person who could have brought them into the world, and you didn't.
So to avoid that fate, Denzel leaves us with this final challenge. And it's not about being rich or famous. It's about whatever unique gifts you have. Maybe your gift is patience. Maybe it's kindness. Maybe you're a great listener. Whatever it is you have, the question is simple. What are you doing with it? Are you actually using it?
So in the end, that's the question he leaves us with. It's a challenge, really. To live a life so full, to take so many risks, and to try so many things that when your time comes, there are no ghosts left. Just the peace of knowing you gave it everything you had, and that you always, always fell forward.